Belonging. What does that word really mean? I was born and raised in Nigeria, West Africa. When I think of my childhood, a couple of words come to mind: family, fun, celebration, community. My dad was the first of 9 kids. But more than that, as an individual, he had such a fun personality. He's the kind of person that people just naturally gravitated towards. I also grew up the first of 6, and my friends, all of our friends, had great moments and conversations with him. In addition, my mom loved to cook, and she cooked well. In fact, as a child, as long as I can remember, cooking has always been our business. What this meant was that for holidays and anyone's birthday, we had a cooking fest at home. We spent the day before prepping to cook, and on the actual day, we wake up early and we'll cook for hours. The expectation was always that people were going to show up, and they always did. I also grew up in a gated home, but anyone who's been to my house knows that the gate is always open. You push it, it makes a distinct creaking sound. That always tells us inside that someone is coming. And then you walk right to the side of the house, coming in through the kitchen door. You always know someone is a guest if they knock on the gate or they try to come in through the front door. My dad would sit in the backyard in the evenings, and you could hear him laughing a couple of homes down. So friends and neighbors would always stop by in the evenings just to say hi. In my home, we had impromptu sleepovers, unexpected guests, extended stays by families and friends. All are welcome, all are fed. My people, the community, all of these contributed to my feeling of being a part of a place. I didn't have to question it. I just felt it. I truly belonged. In addition, my dad was a consumer of news. So local, national, international news. As a child, if the news came on and my dad wasn't home, we knew we had to listen for the highlights. Because when he walked through that door, that's the first thing he will ask us. This exposure to news, especially international news, meant that I was aware of that perception of Nigeria and really all of Africa as third world. But this didn't really align with my belonging feeling right now. So I didn't think much about it at the time, not realizing this was going to come back and challenge me later. I just felt I could dream and be whatever I wanted to be. Because my dad got his advanced degrees in the UK, one of those dreams for me from childhood was the desire to get an advanced degree outside the country. So I went after that. The STEM admission offer I eventually accepted was at the University of Houston, Clear Lake, Texas. So, a couple of weeks before classes started, I quit my corporate job back in Nigeria. I spent a few days with my family, and I'm on my way to the United States. When I arrived in Houston, this was my first time this far away from home, from my community, the space where I'd always belonged. But I'm in the United States. I'm excited. I've been impressed by all of the support to transition that I got from my school. And I've met so many students already, also from different countries, who are looking forward to this stage. So I'm looking forward to starting this phase of my life. Those first couple of days after arriving in the United States included a couple of grocery store trips as I got settled in my new apartment. So, on one of those trips, I was trying to locate an item, milk. You see, back in Nigeria, the breakfast version of milk is the powdered form, not the liquid one here in the US. So I needed to find the powdered milk section. But hey, this is US, there's always someone to ask. I identified a store clerk, and I walked confidently towards her. "Excuse me, I'm trying to find powdered milk." All I get is a bland look. I don't think she heard me. "Excuse me, I'm trying to find powdered milk." Again, no response. Now I'm thinking, maybe I'm speaking too fast. I have been told I speak too fast sometimes. "Excuse me, can you point me in the direction of powdered milk?" I finally get a response. "I don't know what you're saying." Where's the playbook for what I need to do next? Is there a different word for it here? Is there something else I should have done? I know she works here and she heard me. The next couple of seconds, I stand there asking myself all these questions. Eventually, I walk away without milk. For the first time, I am realizing, yes, I am thousands of miles from home. I might have spoken English since I was a child, gotten educated in English language, aced the test of English language exam to get into graduate school in America. I am not from here. I speak with an accent. That makes me different. I am different. That experience at the grocery store made me very self-conscious and cautious about approaching strangers for help. And over the next couple of weeks, I just focused on my internal campus community, the International Student Office, and the community of diverse students just like me. At least in this space, I could ask questions. But that experience was just one of the many scenarios where I had to try and figure out people's perception of me from their reactions and their words. I had to figure out the best way to respond to people's questions. Eventually, after a couple of months, I got to a place of feeling some belonging within the body of diverse students. I wasn't that naive girl anymore from my home country who knew everybody and could ask questions anywhere. Now, although I belonged a little less than I did at home, after a couple of months, I'm beginning to fit into this place. Eventually, graduate school ended, 16 months after it started. My next journey was into corporate America. Here, I'm relocating from Texas to California. Here again, I'm losing the small community that I just built. But this time, I don't have an international applicant community to lean on. I don't have a body of applicants just like me to show me the ropes. There were lots of automatic denials and frustrations. I have a foreign name, and I have foreign work experience. These spoke very differently to employers. Finding a way to get into corporate America looked very different for me. I had to figure out the jobs that would recognize both my foreign degree and my American degree. I had to learn to update my resume to include the bold line, "No visa sponsorship required." This is not something anybody would tell you in graduate school. But having a master's in biotechnology is not the same thing as having a master's in biotechnology as an immigrant. The truth is, everything about me says foreign, and I don't belong here. Eventually, I was able to get my first full-time corporate job in a global corporation months after applying. What I learned during this journey is that getting into school in America and getting into the American workplace, two very different experiences. In college, you have a lot of support, and the goal is clear: graduate. In the workplace, you are left to navigate by yourself, and the unspoken goal is not belonging, but blending in, fitting in. I have had a long journey of being a corporate employee. I've learned to be less of an immigrant. I've learned how to be a woman in the corporate workplace. I've learned what it means to be a Black person in the corporate workplace. I learned that when I have to speak up in meetings, I might have to repeat myself. I learned to speak slowly so my accent does not get in the way. I learned to hold back my analogies from home and smile at the American jokes that half of the time I don't even get. I learned to speak kindly to people because I don't know what they believe about my people. I learned to brace myself for my words to be ignored or stolen. I learned to control my reaction when those weird jokes about Nigerian scammers starts off in the meeting room. I learned that people naturally assume I'm not a citizen. I learned that sometimes my coworkers' well-meaning advice about my family included comments on how to get them out of Africa. I have gotten really good at fitting in. But I didn't really belong. And this was an emerging conflict for me. It seemed I had been on this journey to be less immigrant. Why? Just 3 years ago, I attended a global conference with my organization. I'm prepared and ready. I've gotten all this experience fitting in. So on day one, I step into the conference room, but this time, I stop. Something is different. I see a sea of Black faces, diverse Black professionals. This is a rarity in my professional STEM phase. What I've yet to mention is that this conference was put together by an organization that was largely Black. And the conference itself was happening in Atlanta, Georgia. That's something different I felt is the absence of a unicorn feeling. The absence of that being the only feeling. I'm letting go of a brace that I have not even been aware I carried with me at work. Because in this place, I feel embraced. Over the next couple of days, I was constantly reminded of those words from my childhood: family, fun, celebration, community. In this space, I feel belonging. Not just fitting in, belonging. This experience was the beginning of my journey back to belonging in the workplace. That began with embracing and standing on my own identity. Who I am, Not who I was expected to be. Not who I thought society wanted me to be, but who I am. As humans, we all seek belonging. You don't have to be an immigrant, a woman, a black person, or any of the other dimensions that society associates with diversity in order to seek belonging. But we all get on this journey different times of our lives, in the grocery store, at the workplace, in our schools. When I think of belonging now, I'm taken back to my childhood. I can't recreate that scene. But what I can move forward with is the feeling, the journey to that feeling of belonging. That begins with embracing my identity of who I am, not just in the workplace, but in all of those places that will always come up where I might be different from the majority. I'm going to go back to my opening question. Belonging, what does it really mean? This time I'm going to add 2 words. For you. What does belonging mean for you? The dictionary definition of belonging sums it up as that sense of being a part of something and accepted. That means it's bi-directional. It's not just about me. It's also about you. How can we be a part of belonging? I think it begins with our identity and then our influence. My journey to belonging has included breaking down the walls and unraveling all of those norms that I had created and embracing my identity, not just in corporate America, not just in the workplace, but everywhere. What does that belonging journey look like for you? In what areas are you being less of who you are in order to fit in? We must embrace all of our identities. And then influence. How can we be a part of having a positive impact on someone else's belonging journey? How can we honor the unique lived experience of the people around us in the spaces we find ourselves? Workplaces, grocery stores, schools. This is a call to action for every one of us to check our assumptions at the door and ask to learn. Our words and our actions can hurt people even without having malicious intent. Our policies can exclude people when we don't seek to know people first. Everyone seeks belonging. True belonging can look different for everyone, but we all have a role to play. So again, I'm going to ask you, what does belonging look like for you? Thank you.